Hey.
Hey, good morning, Sarah. Here we are again.
Yep.
Another chapter review of The Primal Wound. Nancy Verrier, who I feel
Yes.
like we can say we know now.
We know Nancy. Yes.
I love that. Hi, Nancy. All right. So today we're discussing chapter 11, Adopting Older Children. And this was fascinating. I love this chapter, actually.
I did. It was, yes, I related to it, even though I wasn't adopted as an older child.
I related to it from teaching and having kids from foster care in my classes, and some things that went down. I was like, boom, boom, boom. Like, I wish I had this book years ago. Once again, okay,
Well,
you
and she has
start.
that whole
Yeah,
section about teachers and like
she
how you
did.
can be, because I was one of the, for me, I think it was what I related to was, the problems have been exacerbated by repeated disappointments and failed attachments. Because I think in my circumstance, uh, you know, my parents divorced, my mom leaving, my dad being in his own thing, getting remarried, like in a way that was similar to, I mean,
I
not,
thought.
I'm
I
not going to
thought.
compare myself to being in foster care, but just the
Yeah.
lost attachments,
No, I thought of you during some of this reading. Like, oh, that's sort of what Sarah went through in a different version. I
Mhm.
actually thought the same thing reading it about you. So that is true. So she starts off saying, okay, so although the issues for adopted children are the same regardless, like
Yeah.
infants to adults, she gets into there's a whole nother set of attachment problems. So adopted parents are going to adopt an older child, huge decision. She gets into that. In addition to attachment problems, adopted parents or children may face abuse inflicted by members of their family or origin of their foster family, or both. These traumas place a great deal of responsibility upon the adopted parents for understanding, compassion, and restraint in dealing with difficult behavior.
Mhm.
And I mean, this is a long chapter, so we won't spend ages, but I felt like we could spend ages because she gets into so many aspects of it, of taking care of the child by not over taking care of the child. I mean, you can't force your love on this
Right.
child.
And they're going to be skeptical of that anyway, right?
They're going to be skeptical, and the more they're hurting and lashing out at you as an adopted mom. I was thinking about myself, how would that feel? This You bring this child in, you're so excited, I want to love them, hear her, and have this wonderful life, and they're like mad at you because they are transferring all sorts of stuff and they didn't ask to be put in this position. I thought that was
Exactly.
good.
Yeah. And they've already had, and their trust issues are monumental. Like, oh, what makes you any different from anybody else,
Right.
And it does say many parents of older adopted children, even if they don't want to admit it, have some kind of missionary zeal involved in these adoptions, and
Yeah,
then are
because
then
you're
surprised and disappointed and angry when the child isn't grateful to them.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and why isn't
again,
this
that
child
narrative of
grateful?
us adoptees should be grateful.
Yeah, and especially these kids, because they've been
Right.
in one foster home, many foster homes, passed around, unloved, maybe abused by their original parent. I like the
Maybe
part
abused by other foster parents.
foster parents, and abuse can be other things. It's not just physical. There's verbal. I like the part that she got into, that the children they may want to fit in with you, but the more they want to fit in with you, the more they're going to reject you. And it's very important for the adopted parents to just listen, not talk about not insult their biological parents, not ask really about them. They may have very conflicting feelings about that. And also about their foster families. Just listen, and then let the trust build by doing fun things, having routine.
Mm-hmm.
And let
Routine
it
is key for,
Key, they said.
yeah,
Routine is safety. It's a control thing for them to feel something's in control. And when they're acting horrible, I thought this was good, even for teenagers, not just kids who are adopted. When they're acting horrible towards you, they're trying to have control because they feel out of control. So
mm-hmm.
you have to restrain yourself. They can be yelling at you. Curse words are just words. I like how she said that.
Yeah.
They're just anger manifesting.
What the
And
hell, Louise?
but you can see some parents, but we don't talk like that. Well,
Yes, yes, yes.
this is anger bubbling up and coming out and hurting, and it's just words. It's just the word that is,
It's pain masked as anger.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't shame them, and yeah.
And I like this talking about school, right? Because right
Yes.
around, I think my kind of academic life went downhill as things went on in my own life.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I wasn't smart or
I can attest for
anything.
that. You're whippet smart. Yeah.
It's just that I was in such trauma and chaos. And
Yeah.
so
School can't be your focus.
yes, because it said, it says that like children who feel abandoned, fear abandonment, and keeping this from happening again takes energy and concentration away from academic pursuits.
Yeah. I like how she said it, when a child's whole feeling is to be safe, and like a little bird, she described the bird. I like
That's what I
that
was
part.
just pointing out. I put bird.
Yes. Oh, you did me too.
Yeah, like because I love this analogy. To get an idea of what this hypervigilance is like, watch a bird pecking in the garden. Notice how the bird is constantly lifting up its head and looking all around for signs of danger. This is what it's like for the adoptee.
Yeah. And so you're not, I mean, school, she said adopted parents need to lower their expectations of, they can be uber smart and great at something, but they may not be coming home with the test scores and the homework skills. And you need to lower that expectation, not don't have any, goals for them, but help them and just be like, that's not that important in the scheme of what's going on. I mean, the
Yeah.
health of the child is far, I saw this a lot. Like I was telling you, when I was teaching, and I was young, I was teaching in the inner city when I was in my young 20s. So I'm coming in at very novice. And I thank God had a man who helped me at school, because I had a couple kids who were really acting out, and one kid was ruining my classroom. I'll call him Jerry. That's not his name, but Jerry was ruining my classroom environment. And of course I want to kick him out. You want to say, get out. It's middle school. You want to say, we were ninth grade then, middle school. So he's a big guy, big kid. Okay. Like towers over me, and mean. And the other kids are scared of him. And I just want to go, get out of my classroom, because you could kick kids out of my school and the security guards would deal with them. Right. And I had this wonderful man who told me, Jerry's been passed around house to house, and just don't embarrass him anymore. That's his biggest thing, because he's overly big. He's mean. It's not, he's just hurting. And it really, Mr. Abraham, if you're listening, thank you. It really helped me. So I made Jerry my security guard for the classroom. I was like, Jerry, the kids, they really look up to you and they're scared of you. And can you help me get everybody in the door by the time the bell rings? No more hanging in the halls, and make everyone say, oh, it was like,
that is amazing.
It just was
what
including
a great
him.
story.
And then I found out how smart he was. He just didn't have the skills. No, he had been passed around so much, his schooling was off, but he was so smart and cute and loving. And I wanted to take him home. I was like, who's loving this kid? And he did have a good home then, but I'm sure those parents were dealing with a lot. I can't, because he was coming from so much hurt, I found out. And I only knew this from Mr. Abraham, who's so wonderful. It's like, I feel like if you adopt an older child, you need to talk to those teachers too.
Yes.
And have those meetings. Like, please.
Yes. So that they know, like, where to say something about the daydreaming. Many adoptees are easily distracted and do not seem to be paying attention in class. The daydreaming that many teachers complain about is an altered state of consciousness, often associated with trauma victims, which these kids are. I was a giant daydreamer, and I would sit there, like as I do here, with my hair and just stare, living in my own world.
You're living in your own world, because that's your safe world. That daydreaming is where you're safe and you can create and you can think of you're an Aster, by the way. So you are thinking of a
not yet. That wasn't until I moved to New York in my 20s.
Oh, yeah.
It's when I was the princess.
But I mean, it's that's when you're safe. And it's like we think, oh, they're just zoning out, not being smart. I mean, I've heard it. I wasn't a teacher very long, but I heard it from other teachers, what teachers say. Not, wonderful teachers out there, and they have a hard job. So this is all education, all this stuff. He said at the end of the chapter about the main thing is continuing the education and the dialogue of everybody. Like, and did you like this part? She does talk about the mother's going to take more of the thing,
Yes.
the heat.
Yes.
And that mothers that adopt older children need to have self-care going on for themselves, and it's not selfish. They need to take time. They need to have groups they're in, friendships, because they're going to get some stuff, because the wound is between mother and baby almost always.
Yes. Here, I thought this was great too, that about telling the adult adoptee,
Oh,
you know, that their parents need to heal too, you know, and this is something I'm
learning.
trying to think of, like with my mom and the evolution of our relationship and her listening to the podcast and, you know, what she must feel. And anyway, I thought that was a great kind of wrap up.
I do too, because we always, I mean, I know this when I was growing up adopted, you think of yourself selfishly. I'm adopted,
Yeah.
my feelings. And now that we're older, and I'm like, oh, I wonder, you know, how my biological mom felt. I wonder how my mom felt. Like, and was I able to see that the whole thing there, like having
Yeah.
grace for everybody in the triad, really.
Yes.
And she does get into the fathers too, because fathers are going to have their own battles with this thing. And that fathers also have to be the support for the mothers, because she said, you know, most of the time the harshness is going to come out more directed at the mom. I thought that was,
it doesn't matter if you're adopted or not adopted, the mom gets the brunt.
I was going to say, that sounds kind of familiar.
Yes. You know, in a way, that's like, I look at that as because moms are safer to get mad at, maybe, or, you know, maybe, I don't know.
Well, there's not,
I mean, I just think, you know, Becker could let down his guard and just be so mean and mad, but because it was safe, he knew he was safe doing so.
In general, I mean, women may be safer because men can be harsher when they're mad, and it's scary when you're a kid. I remember when my dad would get mad, it was much scarier than when my mom would get mad. We were like, ooh, we've crossed the line, right? With my mom, I'd be I was horrible. Sorry, Mom, in your grave. Today feels like one of our days on the ice cream truck, doesn't it?
Yes.
I don't know why, but like where we would just chat and chat and chat. We had a lot of downtime.
Yes.
On the ice cream truck.
A lot of downtime.
Sitting on the cold freezer.
I just had a memory pop into my head of that man getting mad. He banged the scream ball against the truck. Sorry, listeners, you don't. We are on our truck. We made our own product called a scream ball, which was ice cream dipped in chocolate,
trademarked,
and then flash frozen. So they were really, really frozen. Trademarked, yeah. Scream balls. We were the scream team. We had a shirts that said "We have balls." But anyway, one day some man came and he complained that it was too cold, too frozen, and he banged it against the back of our truck.
Scared the heck out of us.
We're like, wow, ice cream is going to make you that mad.
And we're like, hope he doesn't go on Yelp. We had a hard time getting the ice cream to stay on the stick, so it had to be really cold for that ball to stay on the stick.
Yeah.
Very funny.
I mean, but just to get so angry over ice cream.
He might have been adopted.
I know. I think that was misplaced anger. Maybe we looked like his birth mom.
Well, we had to wrap this chapter up. But Nancy, good chapter, actually. If anyone is adopting an older child or you're in the midst of it, or you're a teacher of kids that you think have these, you should read chapter 11, because we're really only scratching the surface. It was very informative, actually. Very.
And now we have a new a guest coming up, and she's super interesting. You'll find out shortly who she is.
Can't wait.
Yes.